Hello, and welcome to Bad Analogies, where we exploit every loophole, dodge every obstacle, and penetrate the bureaucracy. I'm Chris West, and as always...
I'm Alex Mishore.
How's it going, man?
Awesome.
Good.
I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Nobody can see it, but we have two big mattresses on the walls because we don't have a fancy studio yet.
Yeah.
But the sound quality is, impeccable compared to last time. And it's only upward from here.
Yes. That is correct.
So what should we talk about today?
Yeah. So when we were talking, you were saying something. You mentioned something about like divine humor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, what were your thoughts on that?
So,
or what made you think of that in the first place?
First of all, we both teach high schoolers,
right?
And high schoolers, they're both a very easy group to relate to, and also can be tricky at times. And one thing that really helps, obviously, is you have to have a sense of humor. You can't take yourself too seriously because, no one should take themselves too seriously.
Yes, yeah.
And so they're normal people. So if you took yourself too seriously, it wouldn't go that well.
Right.
But I was thinking about when you're telling a joke, right? When you're telling a joke, what makes a joke funny? And it's really good to open with a joke, right? When you're speaking to a group, a lot of speakers they'll start with a joke, usually self-deprecating, maybe not. You know what I mean? And so you start with a joke, and you say, the Scarecrow received the Lifetime Achievement Award. Do you know why? Because he was outstanding in his field. Like, it's a dumb joke.
Dumb joke.
But it's, as an example, what makes laughter involuntary? And it's the discovery of a veiled truth. So Fulton Sheen says that a sense of humor means that you see through to the point. So no one gets a joke if they don't see through to the point.
Yeah.
So why does two people in a group laugh? Because they have an inside joke.
Yeah.
Right? They have an inside joke that no one can see through to it. It's veiled in some language, or it's veiled in some symbol that means something to them. There's a side conversation happening, right?
Yeah.
That's hidden. Okay. So when you tell a joke, that's what makes it funny, is when everyone in the group, when everyone laughs, it means that everyone recognizes, at least, if it's not true, they get the secret meaning of the speaker. So for instance, if I said to somebody, wow, if I had maybe gotten a horrible haircut, right?
Yeah.
And I said to somebody else, geez, you look awful today. Who's your barber? Right? And I look like a fool.
Yeah.
Everyone would laugh because the unspoken meaning is, I have a horrible haircut. I know it. You know it. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it funny. So a divine sense of humor. What is a divine sense of humor?
Yeah. What is a divine sense?
A divine sense of humor, and I'm just basing. This is all just Fulton Sheen, but I think it's a really awesome. It can be applied to a lot of things in life. It's seeing through to the point, right, of whatever it is that God does, means, or intends. So he would say, Fulton Sheen would say that looking at a sunset and the grandeur of a mountainscape, or a massive waterfall, or some beautiful thing, or the face of a child, or anything in creation, and then like not seeing through to the point that there's a good creator, or that there's goodness imbued in creation. And he would claim that atheists just miss the point. They totally miss it. You tell a joke and none of them laugh because they don't discover the joy or the truth behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like when I bring up when I bring this up in class, or when I brought this up in like different groups and stuff, of like love being an example of an existence of God, a proof for the existence of God is love. Like, you can't put it in a like a flask, or you can't
Test
put it,
tube.
test tube or anything like that. Like you can't.
A flask.
Yeah.
People are pulling out like a flask of
I meant
love.
like an Erlenmeyer
I just want to
flask,
pull out
okay?
a flask of love at the movie theater and just take a little sip of love.
I was thinking of
Is that what-
Erlenmeyer flask. Okay, so the scientist, not like
You
put
mean like a
bourbon in.
beaker? You mean a beaker, and you're
exactly.
like, man, hey, you want a swig? Hey, you want a swig of
You want
love?
a swig of
Hey, I'm
love?
at the baseball game. I'm at the baseball park. Hey, you want a little sip? That'll warm you up. A little love.
So, but then this scientist, or atheist in the group would be like, well, it's just like synapses and like
Right.
things that you can like, point to in the brain and the mind and stuff. It's purely
There's
biological.
no such thing as love. You just think
Right.
that you are experiencing love.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And
I mean,
and like that's so sad. And
it's sad.
There's no joy in that. Where is the imagination? Where's the joy? Where's the love in that?
Oh man.
No.
If only the Black Eyed Peas were here to back you up on that. Where is the love? Yeah, I think that
Yeah, there wouldn't be music. Every single genre has
yeah.
love songs and love stories if it was just
No,
science.
Chris, that's just to make money and more.
Anyways,
Yeah, I think that a divine what does it mean to have a divine sense of humor, or
Yeah.
for us to try and adopt a divine sense of humor? And obviously, and I think bad analogies is in a lot of ways this is. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it as, now I see the funny side, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can look at it as, you can take things too unseriously, right? In which case, everything is frivolity and jokes and irreverent. Or you can take things too seriously and everything is grim or determinist or very bleak, but also superficial, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's all we can see. There's no
Right.
subtext. There's no joke behind it. There's no deeper meaning to be taken from the synapses, right?
Yeah.
Rather than looking at synapses and seeing how they work and being like, wow, this is beautiful, clearly evidence of intelligence, and
Yeah.
this is amazing, and each person is more mysteriously intricate.
Yeah.
Rather than that, you just say, well, that's all we are.
yeah,
There's no punchline here.
Yeah.
No laugh to be had. This is it. This is just the premise, and there's no conclusions. There's that, or so we can take things too lightly, or we take them too seriously. But to adopt a sense of humor doesn't mean to adopt a divine sense of humor with life. We can do this with politics. You can do this with history. You can do this with sociology and all of these, and just the news.
yeah,
And our relationships, you can say a divine sense of humor doesn't mean you laugh at everything. It means that you look through and say, what's really going on here? And you look through, like for instance, you see Judas, conspiring with you see Judas conspiring with the Pharisees, right? And then you have some people on the sidelines when that comes to light saying that it's just a theory, it's just a conspiracy theory. Having a divine sense of humor means that you see what's really going on.
yeah,
Right, you see what's really going on, and it doesn't mean it's always a joke. It can also mean seeing things through the eyes of God, which means that that the events of history and the things that are going. For instance, like I just said, what do I mean? Because this is sort of abstract.
right,
What do I mean? With everything going on in the world right now,
Yeah.
we have. You and I, and all of us, have gotten bogged down in the minutia of living day to day through changes,
Right.
procedures, and that kind of thing.
right,
But having a divine sense of humor about things means that you're simply just making the effort to say, what does this mean in the big, grander scheme of things?
Grand scheme of things.
Like, what does this mean on a more providential level? Like, what does this mean for our country on a big level? What does this mean for the church on a big level?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean like everything is ha 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 funny, has a punchline, but it does
Right.
mean that is there something underneath the events of recent events that we should maybe be sort of attentive and be sort of inquiring as to like, what is where is this moving? What is this headed? What is this doing to us and that kind of thing?
yeah,
And so without taking that too serious of a turn, there also means that we sort of should handle these things with a certain amount of levity, a certain amount of humor.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
if it's all
serious,
then and bleak,
then there's no joy in that.
Yeah, you're not going to make it either.
And it's so easy to get into that. I will say, yeah, like just with our nature, I think it's easier. That's why there's bad news.
Right.
Like all news is bad news. For them, you know what I mean? Almost all. Yeah. Like it's just the country's tearing itself apart.
John Krasinski tried to make a show about good news.
Yes.
How long did that last?
It did not last too long. I'm just
kidding. It's just a joke. I support it. 100% support it.
100%,
but look, they killed it too. They conspired. They ruined that too. No.
And then, what was it called? Some good news. I think. Or was
Some Good News? SGN.
Some Good News. Yeah, SGN. So it was like
it's just
it's just some.
Yeah.
It's not even a lot.
Right. Yeah. Well, but we're not going to have all good news this side of heaven.
For sure. Yeah. And so that's like my point though being I think it's really easy to be negative. It's really easy to get
I'm super negative.
Yeah, to get caught in the scum of things.
Yeah, I'm super scummy.
And the muck. You're super scummy.
I'm not going to say that.
That's what you just said.
I was going to say I'm mucked up, but that's an unfortunate, your words, not mine. You can get stuck in the muck.
You could get stuck in the muck.
Yes, you can. Yes. And I think that it's important to try but I don't think you can have a sense of humor without having an understanding of truth is what I'm saying. I do not think you can be joyful in a time of crisis or lying. I don't think you can be joyful in a situation where there is something bad going on, unless you have any grasp of the floor or the rock bottom, the undergirding truth.
Yeah.
For instance, let me give you just a simple analogy.
Okay. Please do.
Let me give you an analogy. Let's just say you, right, had an imaginary friend named Larry, and he was a tiger.
It's my dad's name. Hey, Dad.
Oh, I mean, unintentional. But yeah, let's say you had a friend named Larry, and he's a tiger. Now this is like two metaphors.
Yeah.
And he only you can see him. Okay? Follow me here.
I'm following.
And he's in the corner of this room, right? And I walk in the room, but Larry is one of these rational, emotional tigers. So he, in your mind, right, he's sitting over there, and he hates not being greeted when people walk in the room. So I walk in, I say, hey, what's up, Chris? How's it going? And I blow past, in your mind, Larry, the tiger, okay?
Yeah.
Well, he's a liger, actually. He's a lion-tiger mix.
Yes.
So Larry the liger is over here in the corner, and he is so miffed. He is so peeved. Yeah. He is totally insulted by me walking in and just greeting you. Now, of course, he's imaginary, so I can't see him.
Right.
So I walk in and say hi, and then you say, in response to me, you say, excuse me, but now Larry is licking his teeth, saying he's going to devour me because I didn't speak up for him, and I didn't tell you to greet him. You're lost at this point, right? You don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
So Larry gets real mad when someone ignores him, and because you're his friend and you didn't stick up for him, he's actually going to attack you. So you say to me, I have to put myself in this cage, and it's a real cage, right? And you step into a cage in the corner here, and you're like, I have to be in this cage for like 2 weeks now, because that's how hungry he is, and so how mad he gets for this. This is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Okay.
You sound like Gollum right now.
Yes. So I walk in. I'm in reality, right?
Right.
And you are with me.
Yes.
Okay. For me to make a joke. About Larry,
the liger.
Right? I would have to have an understanding both of reality, the reality of the situation, and I would have to also have at least some grasp of the chaos that you're living in. I would have to know the backstory of the liger. I'd have to know. But when you step into a cage, right? There's two options, right? I totally go along with your delusion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I keep my feet firmly on the ground, right? And I could, that's at that point, that person you would have to put in the hospital, locked up.
Right.
But the analogy is this. In that situation, if I was to turn around and say, hi, Larry, how you doing? right?
Yeah.
And then make a joke about you, Chris, sitting over here in the corner and like have a conversation, with Larry the Liger. That would not be funny to you.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a grasp that it was insane.
Right.
If you totally bought into the delusion, right, it wouldn't be, there's nothing to be funny, it'd just be sad.
Yeah.
Okay. That might be a bad analogy, but how does it relate to what I'm saying is when you're in crazy times,
Right.
when stuff's going on that people disagree about, or there's crisis or there's tension, if you cannot adequately have a laugh, you cannot see the joy, have joy, if you also don't know what's true in the situation, in reality. You disagree?
No. I totally agree. But one example that I think of is, do you know who the patron saint of comedians is?
No.
Actually, St. Lawrence, which is hilarious that you said my Liger friend was Larry. Do you know why it's St. Lawrence?
Didn't they say? Didn't he? No, I think I do.
He was grilled.
Yeah, he was grilled
to death, right? And the tradition is that he was on one side and he said, "All right, this side's done. Flip me over."
That's so dark.
It's so dark,
but also
hilarious.
It is hilarious.
So funny.
Yes, and so this leads me to maybe my last point that I want to make on divine sense of humor, because I was talking to my friend Mitchell about this. Is we were talking about nothing in particular. I'll let you piece it together. But we were talking about things, and he said, "This is why." It was very profound. He said this. He said, "This is why the only way to live life is as a Christian, because no matter who." He says, "Even when we lose, we win." Mm-hmm. And meaning, like, even when we get rallied up into camps and get killed, even when we are the world is against us, we have an understanding that we're on a winning team, we're on a resurrecting team. That when all teams die, ours is the only one with the resurrection, factor.
Yeah.
And I think that a divine sense of humor is what keeps that always in the background, is that even though we might not like a situation, even though we might need to fight a certain thing, even if we have to suffer something, that the divine sense of humor is not like a morbid, like, nothing matters nihilism. It's not like nothing matters, turn me over, I'm on this side, I'm done, nothing matters. He's saying, even if you kill me, I'm still, I'm still going to go to heaven. He's like, this right now, in the grand scheme of things, it's irreversible, and so it doesn't matter as much as you think it matters.
Yeah.
And so he's only able to make a joke in that scenario.
Yeah.
Right? Those people are the crazy one. Yeah. And he looked crazy getting, burned burn on a grill. But I think you're only able to make a joke in good taste. Yeah. Without being nihilist, if you know the truth and you acknowledge the suffering of the situation.
Yeah. There's so G.K. Chesterton wrote Orthodoxy.
The Prince of Paradox.
Yes.
Chesterton.
Yeah. Yes. And it took me like a year to read it. It's not a long book.
Which book?
Orthodoxy.
Okay.
And it's not a long book, but it's so dense because he flips everything on its head.
Right.
And he does a bunch of paradoxes.
He also uses a lot of British inside humor that we wouldn't get.
Correct.
So he'll say something like, "Oh, if you're like a nobleman at the light post on the side of Knoxville and everyone would know that's a famous street, and everyone would know what he's talking about."
Right.
Like, I don't know.
And we're like, where is that? What is that?
So it is. You need to know the inside joke for him a lot of times.
You do, but
yeah.
And actually, he ends on that. He ends his book with this sense of joy. So he says, "Joy, which was the small publicity of the pagan, is the gigantic secret of the Christian." And he goes on to talk about like how Jesus, he doesn't conceal a lot, but he conceals one thing. He doesn't conceal his anger. He flips tables at the temple. He doesn't conceal his tears. He cries when Lazarus dies. Right. So there's a lot of things he doesn't restrain, but he restrains something. And then G.K. Chesterton says, I say it with reverence. There was in that shattering personality, he's talking about Jesus, a thread that must be called shyness. There was something that he hid from all men when he went up a mountain to pray. There was something that he covered constantly by abrupt silence or impetuous isolation. There was some one thing that was too great for God to show us when he walked upon our earth. And I have sometimes fancied that it was his mirth. And so mirth is like basically inside joke, like and even coming to like laughter. So when you have like this sense of joy, this inner like sense of joy, when you have an inside joke with somebody, you're in a big group of people, right? And like you lock eyes when something happens and you lock eyes and you're both like, yeah,
it's the Jim in the audience.
Yes. And but when he said this, when I was reading this, I just thought about Jesus going up the mountain and then of course praying but also having this divine sense of mirth with his heavenly Father. So the Son and the Father are just like going bonkers in this mirth.
I think there's a reason he said with reverence here.
I know.
That's what he's saying.
I know.
That's what he's saying. He's saying
Yeah.
He's saying that they would have had there's a joy that no one knows about. It's on the inside.
Yeah.
And that's something that he didn't. Why do you think that he didn't show it? If he showed his anger, if he showed his tears, why would he not show?
Yeah. Almost like because he would have had to have been like, okay, look, this is what it, when there is an inside joke,
you would have to constantly be explaining the joke to people who don't get it.
Exactly. Like we don't get it. So This kind of goes back to our last episode.
We just don't get joy
of expectations and reality, but like the reality of the mirth between the Father and the Son is like so far exceeds our expectations that like for him to constantly
to explain it, or for him to reveal it or demonstrate that it's happening would distract from every other conversation.
But then at the same time, I think that the crucifix, like the passion, death, and resurrection, was kind of the like
the release of that,
the punchline. It was the punchline of not the joke, but just like the punchline.
But you're right. There is the veiling. There's the veiling.
Yeah.
There's the veiling of the truth, and then
prestige.
the ultimate truth. What's the ultimate? Yeah.
What
is the ultimate truth of Jesus?
Yeah.
It's not that he's a dyer. It's that he rises. And
right.
That's really that he. I mean, it's both. They're not in competition with each other. But yeah, it is like you said. It's the revelation of the punchline or the point of it.
Yeah.
The point was not for him to come and just die like all of us.
Right.
It was so that all of us would live.
Yeah.
I think that also just something that I thought of is when you said the reason he conceals the mirth. I guess that's a British thing. Because the mirth is if you're in if you are in a group of people they're not all close friends, and you have one friend and there's an inside joke or someone says something and it's a reference to something else that you guys both know the meaning of, right? Mm-hmm. There's really two conversations happening. One's the conversation, one's the like you said, the nonverbal. Yeah, in a sense, it would actually have been rude to... It doesn't, in a lot of times there's a connotation the inside joke is somehow like negative or bad. Yeah. Not always. It could just be totally, Yeah. But for Jesus to reveal that as often as he revealed any of these other emotions or feelings, would be in some ways to totally obliterate the conversation. Like if the woman who's like had the hemorrhage comes to him and is like touching his cloak and getting healed, and then he turns around and is like shows, reveals the divine sense of joy, divine sense of humor in that moment, that conversation could have never happened. It would have totally derailed everything. So there's sort of a intentional not subduing, but veiling of
veiling,
for other purposes, so that the punchline can actually be enjoyed. And I tell you this: if you reveal the punchline beforehand, everything's over.
I mean, it is
when you tell people, hey, wait, hey, hey, it's in my genes. No, darn. That's what the Scarecrow's supposed to say when he receives the award.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You completely,
When you put the cart before the horse, it definitely, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
There's no theater in that.
Correct.
Cool. So, I mean, I think that's all I got on that.
Yeah.
I just think that we should have a divine sense of humor.
Yep.
And what can that look like? It can mean having a good laugh in tough times, but it could also mean staying close to, rooted in what's the truth that isn't always necessarily on the surface.
Yeah.
That looking through deeper to events and things, and maybe asking the question of like, what's the truth of the situation, so that we can see through to the point of things. Otherwise, there can be no joy. There can be no laughs.
Yeah. You might say the divine sense of humor is a good way to exploit every loop.
Yeah, dodge every obstacle. And to penetrate the bureaucracy. Because a lot of times, you can't penetrate the bureaucracy if you don't see. We're supposed to help people. Isn't that the point?
Yeah.
Isn't that what Mr. Incredible's saying with that? Isn't he saying? And we're back. Well, you brought it up.
I know, I brought it up.
If Mr. Incredible is saying, isn't the point of insurance to help people be insured from damages? And the guy's like, he's saying, no, it's all cold hard policy. He's like, it's policy. He's like, we're supposed to help our people, right? It's all about us.
Yeah.
And Mr. Incredible's like, then you're lying.
Right.
And the lie needs to be seen through. It needs to be cut through.
Yeah.
And that's why he's, writing little hacks and cheat codes to the elderly woman, as she's trying to find the right department to help her with her problem. So, yeah, I think that we should all be more like Mr. Incredible, and we should see through to the point of why these things exist and why these things are happening. Otherwise, you're fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us on Bad Analogies, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
See ya.